Professor of Constitutional Law at Harvard. Professor Tribe, it's great to have you back with us tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here, Rachel.
We've been watching as this executive order, various parts of it have been pinging through various courts, and it seems like in almost every turn, anytime a judge has a crack at it, the judge either puts a halt to it or says that something needs to be stalled or needs to be reviewed. What's your take on the legal status of this policy that the president tried to introduce last week?
Well, my take on it is that it's under a very dark constitutional cloud. If you just take a 30,000-foot view for a moment, this is clearly a Muslim ban. Not all Muslims, only Muslims from 7 countries, but then targeted Muslims with a preference for Christians. Clearly a violation of the Establishment Clause. It's done in the dark. It's done without hearings. It's done in a way that is a violation of due process. There's even reason to believe that the picking of these 7 countries that the Obama administration had originally targeted for what might be called extreme vetting are the very countries that didn't need anything more because we've had no terrorist attacks from those countries, given how effective the Obama program is, and yet they picked those 7. Perhaps coincidentally, but it's hard to believe, all of the countries that were responsible for attacking us on 9/11 are countries that were not targeted for this ban. So in the end, when constitutional rulings are finally rendered on the merits, this policy has no chance of standing. But we've also learned that they are making law in an invisible way. I mean, it's truly shocking that they came into court, made it look like all was hunky-dory, as you say, nothing to worry about, nothing to see here, move on. And in the meantime, they had secretly, without informing the courts, arguably in contempt, they had secretly eradicated all these visas. And many of them were visas of students who were going to return to school around the country, among other places in Minnesota and in the state of Washington, which is why Minnesota and Washington were the states whose attorneys general prevailed in the ruling that came down just this evening. And the Department of Justice said, again, to the states, what do you care? You have nothing at stake. You don't have standing. It's a standard argument, but they had very clear stakes. So what we have is a global crisis, a lot of business leaders believing that the rule of law in the long run helps them, and that law made in invisible ink and in the dark in ways that violate our Constitution and in ways that are not remotely transparent hurts them. It hurts everybody. So I think that this cloud is one that's going to rain a storm upon this administration, and it deserves it.
Lawrence Tribe, Professor of Constitutional Law at Harvard. You were the first person I wanted to call to get a grasp on this today as we've been watching all these court cases. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you for calling me, Rachel.
All right. Thank you. We got much more ahead tonight. Do stay with us.